Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope your week went by really well. I hope your week was good overall, and I hope quarantining or social distancing is still doing you well. To say I hope you did well with the circumstances of quarantining or social distancing. So today's topic, I'm not sure if you watched last week's topic was the brain. And let me just take this down a little bit. Okay. Last week's topic was the brain and how it's important for us to work on it and give it some attention. So on the line of that topic, today's topic is suppressing memories or suppressing trauma. For each person, trauma is defined in different ways. So what's one person's trauma might be another person's happy moment in a way, I guess you could say that. And sometimes trauma is passed on to us through what we hear from the movies we watch, from what's within our DNA. So it's important for us to deal with suppressed memories, because eventually they come out without our physical, or let's say intentional control, and those suppressed memories might come out through crying, through the way we interact with others, through through our emotions, through the way we behave and react or behave in a certain environment. Suppressed memories are not always, in my opinion, are not always negative. Some people suppress memories of happy moments because they do not want to, well, I guess it's still negative, but they suppress moments of happiness so that they can withhold that to themselves, because they don't have a lot of those happy moments, so they want to keep that one happy moment truly dear to themselves, so they push it down, and try not to deal with it as much. But most of suppressed memories are negative, and there are things that our mind, our body, like the physical, does not want to experience again. So, and things that were out of our control in a way. And we all have different types of memories that we have suppressed that can be considered traumatical. Memories that brought about trauma. And a lot of people don't want to talk about the idea of trauma, but I think it's truly important to deal with traumatic events that have happened, that cause pain, that cause anguish, that cause anxiety and sadness, all those emotions, all those feelings. And the feelings are not just the emotion, but the physical, because often cases, if you're feeling or rethinking, or the memories that were suppressed come about, like, I feel that there's going to be a lot of the word feel, but I believe and think that your body feels it. Like, your body feels the type of way, the tension, the weight of it all, you know. And in often cases, some people around you will not understand that you have, like, the importance of you addressing that trauma. So you just suppress it, you just put it down, and you don't want to, you know, talk about it. You don't want to deal with it in a way. I know that, let's just say this. So, for example, someone might feel like it was traumatic when they lost a family member. So they suppress that memory and they only think about, you know, what's happening now. And they don't want to think about that person or, you know, the loss of it all. And it brings around about sadness, you know. And I feel like you have to deal with that loss. You have to deal with that experience. And while doing that, while dealing with it, also knowing that how you felt towards that person is also important. The love you felt for that person, the care you felt for that person. Although the trauma is the fact of you losing the person. I'm not sure if I'm making sense to you guys out there. It's in my head and I'm trying to just convey it to you guys. The trauma of you losing that person, or how that person was removed, I guess you could say, taken away, or no longer, I'm not sure what the best word to say that, I would say for me, an example of a trauma when it comes to loss is truly hard, but is when, I don't know if lost is the right word, but I guess it's a word that we all use in society, when someone is no longer, when they transition, when they are physically not present, when someone dies. Let's just say, yeah. When someone dies. So what I want you guys to know is the channel is called Health Journey with Kadi because this is my health journey. Somewhat expressing and explaining what I feel, what I think, what I go through. My health, not just physical, but also mental, emotional, everything, you know, spiritual, all of that. So I definitely want to be transparent and honest in all that I do or say. My experience differs from everyone else's. So it's a learning moment when I do see other people experience or hear about other people's experiences. So I kind of went this way, but let's come back here so we can meet in the middle. So yeah, traumatic moment. So for me, a traumatic moment is when my grandmother passed away. And so when my grandmother passed away, and my grandmother passed away December 2018. And it was a traumatic moment. But yeah. So my grandmother was back home. Back home meaning for those of you, if you are from or have people from another country outside of the United States, you might use the word back home depending on how your relation or your feeling towards that country is. Even if you haven't been there, even if you weren't born there, some people do say that. That's a word that I say, a phrase that I say, or my family says it as well. But back home for us in my family is Sierra Leone, a place in West Africa. So, and you'll see this a lot, like it's just a representation of the flag. So my grandmother and I hope this all comes full circle when we talk, because the main topic today is suppressed memories, and I hope it all comes in full circle. And hopefully I'm not just rambling. But anyways, regardless, sometimes you just gotta talk about it, right? And someone will learn from it. So my grandmother passed away. She was back home. And I feel like it's more so of a traumatic event for me. Maybe I'm not using the right word, but so background. My mother and my father, love them both. There's so many connections here, but it'll be a story time on my other channel. But so my name, I am named after both of my grandmothers. So my mother's mom has the same name as my father's mom. And that is something I always will treasure, and I love it, and I appreciate my parents for doing that, because I'm truly connected to both of my grandmothers. When I was younger, I didn't have the experience with my grandfathers because they were no longer here. They had the experience of me, but I didn't have the experience of them. Hopefully that makes sense. Like, my memories I don't have of my grandfathers, because from the age that you can remember things, my grandfathers were not here. So by the time I was 3, they were not alive, on both sides. But I had the experience of my grandmothers, like staying with them for the holidays, things like that. Them telling me stories, enjoying their cooking, everything. But when I was growing up, I just had this deep connection with my grandma. Like she was not only a purpose for me living, but yes, she was part of me. I know that because my mother's part of her. But I don't know how to explain it. Like, she was a part of me. Like, a part that I didn't want to lose, a piece of me that I didn't want to lose, like of this puzzle. And this puzzle wouldn't make sense because you would always be missing that piece in a way. That's how I felt when I found out about my grandmother. So for a moment I lived with my grandma in Sierra Leone. So when I say live, like we lived right next to each other. And then my parents have their own home. We were down the street from each other. So I was always close to my mother's mom, and I would go and visit my father's mom. And then later on, when my grandmother came here, my grandmother came here. I'll give you guys another example of a traumatic event, but my grandmother came here and I was feeling like a void, something was missing, and I was still young, less than 10, and I was still feeling this way. But by God's, grace and everything, we ended up coming here, living again around my grandmother, cousins, aunts, or whatever it is. And within a couple of months, my grandmother was living with us, my family, meaning my mom and dad, my brother and I, and then my two sisters who came along later on, and she lived with us until my youngest sister as well. So until 2010, I was still, before I graduated and everything, my grandmother was still with us. She went back home, came back, and then she went back home again. Memory is kind of, I'm trying to recollect everything as I talk about it. I hope this video is not extremely long. But so my grandmother was back home 2018, and my mom was in the process of saving and trying to get my grandmother back here to America. She could still come back. It just, there was just a process of filing and all of that. But I don't want to go too deep into detail because I don't want to sway. I want to get back to suppressed memory. But my grandmother, that happened, and so my mom was trying to bring my grandmother back, and it was supposed to be 2019. Everything, she was trying to do everything so she can get back here by 2019, December. My siblings were at my place. We're having a grand old time, like making them breakfast, all of that. And then my father calls me, and I thought he was calling me to, for us to talk as usual, or he was calling me to see when the kids were gonna come back, because it was they were supposed to be going back that Sunday or whatsoever. So my father calls me, and I'm gonna do my best, okay? Because I don't want to do all of that. My father called me, and I couldn't be the strong older sister anymore at that moment, because I lost a piece of me. And I've also had, like, within the time of trying to bring my grandmother back, the main issue is the cost of the tickets. I saved up the portion to help bring her back, and I gave it to my mother. So we would definitely try to bring her back. This is what I mean by suppressed memories. Like, I'm feeling it. And this is why, like, I know I have to talk about it and speak about it and things like that, because memories of my grandma come out sometimes, and it brings about sadness. My sadness in the aspect of she's no longer here. Like, I can't talk to my grandma on the phone. I can't physically hug my grandma. You know, like, she lives in my heart. Like, she lives in my mind, in my memories. So to some people that might not be traumatic, but to me it was, because that phone call was not what I was expecting. You know? And sometimes we do feel like people would live forever. And that's just the sad reality, that they don't. Even the ones you love deeply. So I carry the memories of my grandma. I carry her name forever. You know, her love forever. Sometimes I crave certain food that, being a picky granddaughter, that she would make for me, you know. And I'm grateful because I could just tell my mom, and my mom could do it too. But it's different from when my grandma used to do it. The food tastes the same, but the experience is a little bit different. But to come back to it, sometimes I have to sometimes I suppress those memories. Like, I push it down, and I try to just think about how I loved her, how I cared for her, how there was not a dull moment, like. And then I think about all those stories of who she is and how she was, and definitely that was her experience. I can't, experience it for her, but it's something I hold with me, you know. And I am trying to move the memories of my grandma and her passing to a different box. A box that doesn't bring sadness, you know. And today's helping a little bit, because it's making me think about how much, like, she was amazing. And she did what she could within her time, you know. But let's just say, I use the word "but" a lot. Sorry about that. I'm just, that one's a lot. But bring that all back. Like, I'm trying to move the memories, the emotions that comes about when I think about my grandma to a different box, because there are a lot of memories that are not negative. And I think the most negative part was, or the most traumatic part was towards the end, before her passing. And it wasn't on her, you know what I mean? Like, it was things out of our control. So I have to think about that and just move it over. But other traumatic memories are things that were really painful and intruding that people have done onto others. So I do know they're more severe trauma, and I do feel and believe that in order for us to overcome, we have to address those trauma instead of suppressing it. You know, I'm gonna leave you guys with this analogy. Okay, so analogy. So think of your suppressed memories as something being pushed upon. Like, if you press on something so hard, it's either going to break or pop. Eventually, that pressure has to be released some way or the other. So, if you suppress your memory, eventually it's going to come out some way or the other. But if you address it and try to cope with it, the outcome won't be as devastating. So yeah, this is the last piece of this Mindfulness Monday. I hope you guys learned a little bit, not just about me, but about suppressing trauma and suppressing memories that cause pain. Just like the analogy, try your best, because that's all you can do is your level best, your absolute best, to not press down or suppress, like push down, lock up, cover, ignore, all of those things, memories that eventually will come out. Like, it's like a reoccurring movie, right? Until you deal with that step or pause the movie, you're going to continuously experience the pain of that trauma. So I think we all need to address trauma, and if the person that's causing the trauma is alive or currently here, I would say address the person, like communicate with the person how they have affected you, how he or she has affected you, or add to your traumatic event or traumatic experience. Talk to your family members, I would say. Talk to your friends. Talk to a therapist. Someone that you know is able to receive your information, like able to receive you talking about this event that caused you pain, deep pain, hurt, anger, because sometimes traumatic events can cause pain and also anger, like make you truly upset, truly mad, angry. But you gotta deal with it, like address it. I mean, like, and not try not to add so much to that experience, because it then overwhelms you, it then takes over your whole being, like physically, emotionally, mentally. It just takes over. I hope you're able to overcome. I hope you are able to remember, if your traumatic event is the loss of someone dear to you, continue to add to their memories of things that made you happy, like, or the emotions or the experience with them that makes you happy. More so focus on that, replay that. Deal with the parts that made you sad. Deal with it, but wrap that up with the moments that are happy. Because when those moments that you think about the sadness, they will quickly, your brain will connect quickly to the happy moments. So you're not just miserable, like, oh, sad, like extremely upset. I'm so sorry about that, but I'm just very, like, that was a lot. Like, but yeah, so when I lost my grandma, I felt it. Like, felt it. And add on that the things that were happening in my life around that time. Just made things worse. And I know I suppressed it, because the following week I had to just go back to work. I had to put a smile on my face and keep on keeping on, like. But then when I actually sat down and it hit me, it hit me like someone sucker punching you in the gut. Left field, out of nowhere. Like, out of nowhere, someone just, like, that feeling, like my whole body just caved in, and it was just, but I talk more about it. I talk about it with my siblings, with my family, with my friends, and I just loved her. And I love her to this day. Like, I love my grandma. Like, she's amazing. I am part of her legacy. Truly amazing. Important member of her community and everything, But yeah, try your best to not suppress those memories. Write about it. Writing is a good way to release the information. Just try not to read it over and over, because then you're experiencing it over and over in your brain. But talk to someone, a professional, if you can, if you have the funds, and or if you have the access to a professional. And sometimes there are affordable options. So I would say, just like the brain, we need to give attention to suppressed memories. And if it's hard for you to get those memories out, that's when a professional can be important, or a confidant, or just someone that is able to put the puzzle back together for you. Help you put the puzzle back together, because you gotta do the work, You gotta do work. Thank you for joining my health journey. Things are going to get to a certain place. It's a continual thing. Your journey is something that just keeps going. Like, once you get to one spot, you want to go to the next and to the next. So thank you for joining my journey, and I hope this helps you out, just to realize that there are people out here that have experienced trauma and are suppressing it to cope, or to, you know, not feel the pain again. And I just want you to know that when the space is available, a safe space, or you can create a safe space for yourself, try to deal with it, like address it, work on it, and most importantly, do your best to not inflict trauma onto others.